Hey everybody. Alright, welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. It is May 27th, 2023. It's about 9:12 p.m. Eastern. We are in Lower Manhattan. I think it's appropriate to take a walk across the Brooklyn Bridge tonight. It's a pretty clear night, so we'll be able to see all of downtown Manhattan. Pretty much all the way up to Midtown, hopefully. It doesn't seem like there's a cloud in the sky. So as we go over the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, we'll be able to see a clear view of 432 Park Avenue, Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South. Maybe we'll be able to see the Hudson Yards. We'll be able to see the Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building as well. I want to wish everybody a very happy Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you all are having some amazing plans. Hopefully you had some time to get out of the city, maybe head to Long Island, Connecticut, wherever you please. But we do have a little bit of breaking news. Okay, I know it's Saturday. I know it's the weekend. We're not supposed to be talking about the financial markets. But we do have some major breaking news. Okay, so our president, Joseph Biden, and Speaker McCarthy have reached a deal in the whole debt limit debacle. Now, we kind of knew this was going to happen with the whole debt ceiling thing. And this happens every time. Every time is the same exact thing. The media, in my opinion, right, we could differ on this, but I think the media blows it out of proportion. The Republicans drag it on for longer than necessary. The Democrats drag it on for longer than necessary. People trade insults. They throw blows at each other. It's a dog and pony show. And then right at the wire, right at the end, right before Janet Yellen has a meltdown, we come to an agreement. So breaking news from Reuters just 15 minutes ago, President Joe Biden and Speaker McCarthy have a tentative U.S. debt ceiling deal. So I think crisis averted. However, I will say this. You may think that on this news, you may say, oh, well, on Monday, we're probably going to have the market rally. Well, actually not Monday. Monday is Memorial Day. So markets are closed. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if the market actually has a little bit of a negative reaction to this and maybe sells off on Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. We'll talk about it. But the Reuters article, let me go ahead and post it in the chat for you guys. I think this is pretty big news, right? There was a lot of people who were sort of panicking about this and who were really upset because I understand, right? There's a lot of people who depend on these social programs in the United States, such as Social Security. I think people deserve to be comforted in knowing that they'll get those Social Security payments. They shouldn't have to worry about that. And also to our partner nations and people who hold U.S. debt, they could sort of breathe a sigh of relief knowing that we're not going to default on our debt obligations, even though I thought that was totally unlikely and it was never going to happen. Anyway, but we'll see. Let me go ahead and close my laptop up here, everybody, and we will get started. Apologize for being late. I did have a dinner again to attend to, which ran over its time limit. But once again, tonight we are in Lower Manhattan. It is a beautiful night here in New York City. We are on the corner of West Broadway and Chambers Street. Let me just put my microphone here, and we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. But once again, I hope you are all having a fantastic start to your Memorial Day weekend. I see Tom Berry says, happy weekend, Tom and Walkers. What's up, Tom? Thank you for joining us. Sabrina Ferris here, Austin City Limits, FredX, welcome. FredX, good luck on that tattoo, my friend. Sparks Carnival says it's Fleet Week. Let's go find some sailors. You know, it is Fleet Week, and I love Fleet Week. You know, Fleet Week is one of my favorite times to be in New York. It's so interesting because you have obviously the Navy, more specifically the Navy and the Marines, right? The Marine Corps arriving on these massive aircraft carriers into the port in Manhattan. And the cover of the Wall Street Journal 2 days ago, I think it was Friday's cover, was probably my favorite cover. I actually saved it. It was an amazing shot. Whoever the photographer is, I wish I could give them some kudos. It was an amazing, amazing shot. It was, so picture the Statue of Liberty in the background, which massive aircraft carrier, or maybe like a destroyer ship. I'm not too well read up on the military stuff. But all of the servicemen and women were standing on the deck, and it was an amazing shot. It was awesome. Before we head down to the World Trade Center, I want to show you guys this building right here. This is actually the Jenga building. Now, we usually see it facing north. Well, actually, excuse me, we usually see it facing south. This is the building facing northbound, right, because we're behind it. Really unique building. And if you remember from 2 streams ago, there's almost I'm not even sure what you could call it. I know in Chicago they call it the Bean. For those of you who have either been to Chicago before or visited or are from there, there's a very similar structure right outside of that building, which is kind of cool, which we saw 2 days ago. But now I think this is very fitting for the Memorial Day stream. Wouldn't you guys agree? You got a beautiful shot of the One World Trade Center, Freedom Tower, very fitting for Memorial Day. And then you have a half moon. The moon actually looks really nice. Hey, Cooking says, yeah, I lived in Chicago for a few years. Great city, a little bit too cold for me though, to be honest. You guys know I'm not a big fan of the cold. Chicago is just way, way too windy and cold for me. Now we're looking northbound, and that is the Empire State Building. You can see lit up in red, white, and blue. And then you can see a little bit of the One Vanderbilt building, but just a little bit. As we head downtown, you'll be able to see a little bit more. But once again, team, Saturday, no topic. We are taking the night off. Not going to talk about the financial markets too much. I did think it was appropriate to let you guys know that we finally reached a deal in terms of the debt ceiling or the debt limit. Quick poll. I think it'd be appropriate to take a quick poll. How many of you, which we actually did this before, but how many of you were confident that we were going to reach some sort of an agreement or some sort of deal before June 1st, which is the day where Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was inferring that we could have potentially had, you know, that was the date where we could have defaulted on our obligations? Hey, Dave says, I was very confident. DM says, hello, Tom and everybody. The United States Marine Corps and USN Band performed in Times Square. I think I saw that yesterday, right? Was it yesterday or was it today? But yeah, that is awesome. That's really cool. Let me just wait till these guys go. I don't really like walking next to people. AGD is very confident. Yeah, you know, it's funny because Brad's Brains is confident. Good to see you, Brad. You know, it's funny because 3 streams ago, it was the complete opposite response in the chat. You know, maybe we just had some different people in there. But an overwhelming majority of the respondents in the chat was that the United States could potentially default on its debt obligations. Now, maybe there is a correlation there between the media pushing this down your throat and hammering it down your throat, railing it down your throat every day. I mean, if you turned on CNN, right, it was, the Republicans want to take away Social Security. And if you turn on, Fox News, it's, the Democrats don't want to, secure the border and limit spending and all this stuff, right? So you're really getting fed the narrative depending on which mainstream media outlet you watch. I haven't seen one commentator the entire time, not one commentator on CNN or Fox News coming out and telling the audience, yeah, this is probably going to be a non-issue, we'll probably reach an agreement. Everybody was just fear, and maybe that's why the chat was swayed in that way a couple days ago. Interesting stuff. Hey, Karen Smith is here. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Dave S. is U.S. Navy pulls into the port, manning the rails. Awesome sight to see those sailors on the deck. Yeah, that's always my favorite to see during every Fleet Week. I saved the cover of the Wall Street Journal. It's an awesome view. I can only imagine what it's like. We do have some military members in that are viewers of Walks from Wall Street, which we appreciate them very much. Big supporters of our men and women in the armed forces. Big supporters of that. Very appreciative. But I can only imagine what it's like being on one of those big aircraft carriers, right? As you pull into the harbor, right past the Statue of Liberty. I mean, that's like a once in a lifetime experience that those sailors will probably remember forever. That's just such an iconic shot. But, you can, I guess, tour one of the aircraft carriers. It's called the Intrepid. It's a museum on Manhattan's west side, which is kind of nice. I think I've taken you guys there a couple times too. Hey, Brad's Brains is Tom. That's why I've turned off the mainstream news. It's useless. Yeah, I very, very rarely watch it. The only time I'll be able to watch it is if I'm staying at a hotel or something, because I don't even have cable. That's the thing. But yeah, it's funny to think about it, because every time, and we're coming up on the World Trade Center here, if you just really pay attention to market cycles and even news cycles, right? If you've been paying attention over the course of the last, let's say, 5-6 years, everything almost seems a little bit like a deja vu moment, does it not? And the debt ceiling argument is no different. It happens every time, and it's the same thing every time, right? Depending on which political party's in power, they negotiate really, really strongly at first. You have all these articles saying this is a pie-in-the-sky demand, nobody's ever going to come to an agreement, but then at the last hour, the final hour, there's always an agreement. It happens every time. I mean, just think about the profit motives there. Real quick, look at this, guys. This is One World Trade Center, one of my favorite buildings in the world, really. Very fitting for Memorial Day. But right here is actually BMCC. This is the Borough of Manhattan Community College. It is in the CUNY City University, New York college system, which actually I went to, a CUNY school, public school in New York City. But I think the last thing I'll say about the debt limit, and then we'll move on, we'll head to the Brooklyn Bridge, is you got to understand the profit motives of these politicians. Because here is the reality. Let's just say, hypothetically, the United States did default on its debt obligations, right? We couldn't pay the interest on our debt. We couldn't make payments for social programs like Social Security. Let's just play along and say that's what happened. There would be such a massive systemic shock to the system, where you would have bond yields across the entire curve blowing off like you've never seen before. Because again, we've reviewed this multiple times, a fiat system is only held together based on the trust and belief in that system, right? The entire American economy and the bond market is held up on the belief and the trust, if you're talking about sovereign debt, right? The belief and the trust that the United States will make its interest payments. So if there was ever a time where a default actually did happen, you would see a massive sell-off in the debt market. You would have people dumping US Treasuries like crazy. And as we know, if you think about the correlation in the bond market, it's an inverse correlation. So as the prices of bonds are going down, yields go skyward, they skyrocket, right? So if you have nation states, if you have family offices, investment banks, hedge funds dumping treasuries on the open market, that is going to crash the price of those treasuries, and yields will spike uncontrollably. And you would also have a massive exodus of capital out of the stock market and into things like precious metals and commodities. So going back to the statement, if you just look at the profit motives, these politicians all own stock portfolios. They own US Treasuries in their own retirement accounts, right? They own real estate. So it is in their best interest to get a deal done. It would sort of be like, sociopathic in a way for them not to get a deal done. So this is why I'm not too concerned every time one of these, debt ceiling arguments come about, in my view. Hey, Krog Dogs, this community college grad here too, transferred to a 4-year. Very nice, love that. Krog Dog, good to see you. And I'm wishing you a very happy Memorial Day weekend. This is the Oculus here in Lower Manhattan. They sort of tried to make it like a dove's wing, which I think it kind of looks like that. Now to the right here are the 2 reflection pools where the old World Trade Centers used to stand prior to September 11th, 2001. And they made it really nice. The reflection pools are really beautiful. However, they do close it down at dusk. As you can see, there's a lot of tourists here. It's a big tourist attraction, but it is roped off. So at dusk, they do rope this particular area off to spectators and tourists and things like that. So we won't be able to see it tonight, but I will do best of a job as possible to show you the Oculus and One World Trade Center. Hey, I see Dusty Cole is here, Western Mass Dave. Good to see you, Western Mass Dave. Sean Brown, my friend, thank you so much for your very kind and generous $1 donation. Appreciate it. Sean says, Tom, what CUNY did you attend? I attended CUNY John Jay College, which is located 59th Street and 10th Avenue. It's all the way on the east side. And speaking of that, we're probably gonna have to do a stream over there, but the internet's not too good. When I went there, when I attended John Jay, 10th Avenue, 11th Avenue, all the way towards the Hudson River was totally different than what it looks like now, let me tell you. Totally different. Over there near DeWitt Clinton Park, on your way down to Hell's Kitchen, my God. Even back, when I was in college, I think I was class of 2018, I think. It wasn't the best neighborhood, right? But now, if you've ever taken a walk, if you get off, let's say if you get off at 59th Street, Columbus Circle, and you bang a left and you go all the way to the water, you'll notice something. And you'll notice all brand new, ultra luxury, high-rise apartment buildings all up and down 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue, and right on the Hudson River. They did a really good job. And that goes all the way down to DeWitt Clinton Park, which is where they have the baseball fields and the soccer fields, and that is actually where they have the horse stables. If you've ever seen the horse and carriage rides at Central Park, that's where the horses go at the end of the night. They did a really good job building up and developing that area for sure. Hey, Deborah, thank you so much for your very kind $20 donation. This is Tom in honor of the 140-year-old Brooklyn Bridge, 140 on May 24th. Yeah, that's true. Now, Deborah, thank you so much for your kind donation. And that's why I wanted to take you guys down here. The Brooklyn Bridge was born on May 24th, one day before my birthday. Isn't that crazy? So I was born May 25th, and the Brooklyn Bridge, its birthday is May 24th. It's honestly just a great week overall in New York. You have Fleet Week, you have Memorial Day, Brooklyn Bridge birthday. Can't get better than that. Patricia Ivory says, love John Jay College. Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't say it's like the greatest thing for me, but I have no complaints about it. You know, it was a public education. I think I turned out all right. I met some really cool people there. I met some of my best friends there, John Jay, and I didn't have any student debt, which is the best. I'll give you a quick heads up view of what it looks like in here. This is inside the Oculus. Now inside this building is a mall, but it's also a train station. You can get the one train, and also the Path. So the Path train will take you all the way to New Jersey. I'll try not to get distracted too much, but I just wanted to show you guys the inside here. I think they make it look kind of nice with the American flag, and they also light it up in red, white, and blue, which is very cool. Dave says, I wish vendors weren't allowed on the Brooklyn Bridge. They take up too much room. I walked across it for the first time on May 6th. So you're talking about like the vendors that sell like the little tchotchke type things. Yeah, I think, now I don't know if they're allowed up there, but nobody really says anything, to your point. Hey, Horatio Snipes, what's up? Good to see you. So here's what we'll do. Since it's Memorial Day, we'll exit on this side. So I'll take you guys all the way through the Oculus and out the other end. That couple had sweatshirts that said Canada on it. Big shout out to all of our viewers in Canada. Just because not a lot of people have seen the inside of the Oculus here at the World Trade Center, I'll quickly take you guys around. This is the one train. This is actually where I got off 2 nights ago. I got off at Chambers Street tonight. In my opinion, I think the one train is the most efficient subway line in Manhattan. It runs all the time, very frequent, always on time, and pretty much takes you to all the major stations, at least the ones that I need to go to. 34th Street, Penn Station, 59th Street, Columbus Circle, Times Square. You get the picture. Hey, Hawaii's here. What's up? John says, no way, the F train. I hate the F train, dude. Although I never really have a use to get the F train anymore. This is the Apple Store. It's a two-floor Apple Store. Massive Apple Store. I'm really digging the American flag here. This is probably one of the biggest American flags I've ever seen. Love it. It's very futuristic. Very futuristic, and a lot of, I would say, higher scale department stores. Like you have Kate Spade here. You have Cole Haan, which I think is one of my favorite stores for like dress shoes, dress clothes. Is probably Cole Haan. Now, speaking of, you know, luxury brands, did anybody read the Wall Street Journal today? There was an unbelievable article talking about luxury brands specifically, like LVMH, Moet Hennessy, and pretty much you name your luxury brand. And you know what statistics surprised me the most? Like I couldn't even believe it was real. I had to reread it again. I thought it was a typo. Did you guys know that 40%, again, I'll say this slowly, 40% of all luxury sales, so 40% of all the luxury sales transactions, the volume, happen by 5% of the consumers. Isn't that crazy? So all of these major luxury brands, right? Even like the luxury watch brands like Rolex and all that, 40% of all of their sales come from 5% the top 5% of consumers. That is pretty wild, but thinking about it, it actually makes sense. And we've been talking about this theory that I call the two-tier, or the creation of the two-tier society. We've been talking about that for a while. And ever since the '08 financial crisis, people would argue, and economists would argue, that we've had a massive recovery in the United States economy, and even the global economy, right? If you want to zoom out on a global macro view. But it's really been a lopsided recovery where the people at the top 5 to 10% of Americans, have accumulated the vast majority, of the lion's share of all the wealth. So there's a really good article that breaks down sales transactions at luxury retailers and luxury brands like Tiffany, which is now a part of LVMH. 40% of that sales volume comes from 5% of the customers. Kind of crazy, kind of wild. Hey, Dan is here. What's up, Dan? Says the 1% got richer during the bubble. Yeah, that's true. And I think the main reason why that happened is because if you think about what drives the valuations and what drives asset prices, we've talked about this. Now we're on the other side. It's liquidity and earnings. And boy, did the Federal Reserve dump a lot of liquidity into the financial system over the past 12 years, right? Especially over the past 2 years. This is one of my favorite shots of all time. Look at this. Right outside the Oculus. Look at that. Fixed image, says Tom, do you remember the old World Trade Center mall pre 9/11? Not really. And that's because I think I was just too young. I'd been there before, right, with my parents and things, like with my mom, grandmother, stuff like that. But I was just too young to really remember it. You know, I was born in 1995, so, you know, when the trade centers came down, I was like 6 years old, right? So I don't really remember it too much, to be quite honest. Hey, Joel PM says that makes a lot of window shoppers at the stores. That's true. Yeah, and I think the lopsided, if you want to talk about the lopsided recovery, it's funny we're mentioning it now, because if you go right down this street here and you make a left, this is Zuccotti Park, which is actually the ground zero for the Occupy Wall Street movement. It was right here. Maybe I'll take you guys there. We always talk about the Peter Schiff I Am the 1% video. It was shot right there. But if you look at the percentage of families or households in America who actually own assets, the top 10% of Americans own 90% of all of the assets. And that includes equities, right, or stocks, and real estate. So with quantitative easing after the great financial crisis, the S&P 500 literally went like this. You can just draw a chart from bottom left to top right. Now, that's good, right? That's good. You want to see the market doing well. But who did that really benefit if you actually drill down into the average American? It really benefited the people who owned these assets. And the vast majority of Americans do not own assets. They don't own stocks. They don't own real estate. So what really benefited, right, even though unemployment right now is at the lowest level in 50 years, that's true. But if you look at household net worth on an adjusted basis for concentration, it's actually never been more lopsided ever in US history. This is Fulton Street. This is where we were 2 nights ago. Now, if you make a right on Fulton Street right here by the Chase Bank, you go down 2 blocks. This is going to be 130 William Street, which is a brand new development here in New York City. It is an unbelievable new development. okay? And I'm talking about residential apartments. So if you're interested, if you're curious, if you go to Zillow, if you go to StreetEasy, you type in 130 William, check out the architecture not only on the outside but on the inside. It's fully equipped with a saltwater pool, state-of-the-art gym. I think there's an indoor golfing range, like a golf, what is it called, a golf simulator? It's a really amazing building. But for the sake of time tonight, we're actually going to continue on down Broadway. And we're not going to stop until we hit Zuccotti Park, which is right here. Then we're going to go see the Mighty Bull, which many people actually confuse, and they think the Mighty Bull is located directly outside the New York Stock Exchange. It's not. It's actually right on Broadway. Bowling Green. We'll check that out tonight. Hey, Dutchman is here. Good to see you. Happy weekend to you, my friend. Sunshine after rain. Welcome. Portland Man says, what do you think for the S&P 500 next week? I don't know, to be honest. You know, I mean, Peter Lynch says this. He says, if you ask me what the market's going to do tomorrow, I don't know. If you ask me what it's going to do in 2 weeks, I have no idea. It's like flipping a coin. But I think this is an interesting question for tonight, because last week's topic, or I should say the theme of last week's stream, was being a contrarian. And the reason for that is because the late, great Sam Zell passed away, unfortunately. And tonight, breaking news, Reuters coming across the screen, literally 3 minutes before we started streaming, President Joe Biden and Speaker McCarthy came to a deal to resolve the debt limit dispute. Now you would think, oh great, we reached a deal, this is fantastic. The markets are going to get all giddy, and the market's going to be green on Tuesday. Monday markets closed. I wouldn't be surprised if the market actually has a down day on Tuesday. Now again, that's just a total random guess. But the market has a funny way of doing things like that, right? Just like when Nvidia gapped up 20%, and was up 20% in the day, you had all of these people, all these commentators coming out on CNBC, all these people on Twitter so frustrated. They're like, how could we possibly have Nvidia up 20% when the economy is going to fall into recession? You know, all these bad things, rattling off all these bad things. Well, the stock market, this is Zuccotti Park, by the way. The number one rule many people don't understand is the stock market is not the economy. And depending on what market environment it is, you can have mini bull markets within specific sectors, right? And if you look at the top tech stocks, right, you call them the FANGs, those companies are printing extraordinary amounts of cash. Yes, Nvidia is trading at 52 times forward earnings, something crazy like that, I get it. But these companies are extremely profitable, particularly Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, and the like. And the stock market is not the economy. So for a little bit of Wall Street history here, when the great financial crisis started with the collapse of Lehman Brothers, this is the official start of the Occupy Wall Street protests right here. And I would really suggest, since we have a very long weekend coming up, if you want to really get a history lesson not only about what happened or what caused the great financial crisis, what led up to the great financial crisis, and how it could have been averted, I would check out the Reason TV mini documentary series. It's called I Am the 1% with Peter Schiff. Now, Peter Schiff is an economist at Euro Pacific Capital and Euro Pacific Bank, which actually got shut down by regulators, ironically enough. And it's funny, it's actually not funny, but it's crazy because Peter Schiff's bank, regulators decided to shut down that bank. And then about 3 weeks later, you had all of the other banks that the regulators turned a blind eye to completely collapsing and casting our financial system on the brink of no return. But again, on Wall Street, it's about who greases the other guy's palms. But we'll save that topic for another night so we don't get shadow banned. Hey, Jonathan Earl, what's up? Yeah, you're right. It says toxic assets and then selling them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it was big ethics issues, major ethics issues leading up to the financial crisis for sure, with the collateralized debt obligations, subprime mortgages and the like. Speaking of Wall Street, here we are. This is the very beginning of Wall Street with the very beautiful Trinity Church right here. This is the very famous Trinity Church right on the corner of Wall Street and Broadway. I'm going to cross the street for you guys so you can see a better view of the architecture on the church. I think I may be standing a little bit too close. So let me do that just so you guys can see it. And then I'll take you to the Mighty Bowl, New York Stock Exchange, and then we're going over the Brooklyn Bridge. But here we are. This is the very front of Trinity Church. Beautiful building. Hey, Zach Drew is here. What's up, Zach? And a lot of the buildings here in New York are lit up in red, white, and blue, obviously for the Memorial Day weekend. Hey, Connie A says, I wish I could get a hold Pelosi. Good insider trading. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it's Democrats and Republicans that do this all the same. But I agree with you, Connie. I think it's a big ethics lapse, and I think it's a big conflict of interest if you are in Congress voting on particular, essentially voting on policy, right? You have insider information that the public does not, and you're able to trade on that. I think that's a little bit of an ethics lapse there. For example, most notably that happened during the pandemic, there was a big vote to increase cybersecurity spending for the U.S. government, which I actually think it was the right thing to do. I actually applaud that. I think that's a very good piece of policy to increase spending on cybersecurity in the U.S. Look at that. That's the Chrysler building all the way in the distance. You could just see the very top of the Chrysler building. But here's the problem. They knew that piece of legislation was going to pass before anybody else, right? Because we're not in Congress voting on this stuff. And then it turns out, after the fact, if you look at the filings, you had many members of Congress buying call options on multiple individual cybersecurity names, like Palo Alto Networks, like Okta, like Zscaler, right? So if you knew that this was going to pass before anybody else, and then you bet on that, especially with a highly leveraged derivative product like options, I think that is no good, no bueno. This is King's College. Not a lot of people know that King's College is right here, but it is in Lower Manhattan. And now we're coming up to the Mighty Bowl. You can actually see it at the end of Broadway here. Hey, Lorene Peters says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you, Lorene. Welcome. Sparks Carnival says Amazon is up over 33% year to date. That is true. I think I was reading today in the Journal that without Amazon, without Microsoft, without Alphabet, without Nvidia, and without Apple, I think the S&P would be down 2% this year. But instead, year to date, I think the S&P is up over 9%. And that really goes to show how tech-heavy this market is, and the big mega caps are really leading the way and sort of propping up the market, right? Feels like it just dropped 10 degrees. Feels like it's winter now for whatever reason. Here we have the Mighty Bull. A lot of tourists out tonight, guys, checking out the Mighty Bull here on Broadway. Yeah, a lot of people. We'll try to stand on this rock so I can give you guys a bird's eye view. But back in the day, the Fearless Girl statue actually used to be right here. It was so popular they had to move it because so many people were spilling out into Broadway. Obviously, the traffic comes down all the way from Midtown Manhattan all the way down Broadway so you can get to Water Street and get on the bridges. Yeah, photos from around New York says it's 64 degrees out. It's like light sweater weather. It really is, man. It's kind of strange, especially being that it's, almost June. Kind of crazy. Hey, Golden City is here. It says AI is making the most of the hype. That's true. Yeah, things like NVIDIA, a lot of semiconductors are doing well. All right, we got to stay on track here. I got to get you guys over the Brooklyn Bridge. We'll do that. We'll make a left here just so we could take you by the New York Stock Exchange. But here's the Mighty Bull. I don't know, I feel like it should be a little bit hotter in New York. Hey, NBA Elias says, Tom, have you ever been to the Hamptons? Yeah, multiple times. Multiple times. So when I was a kid, I actually used to frequent Watermill. I'm not sure if there's any, native Long Islanders and native New Yorkers here, but Watermill is a very nice town in the Hamptons. Very nice. I don't really have any reason to go out there anymore, but I have been. It's very nice out there. It gets really crowded though during the summer months for obvious reasons. But I think somebody in the chat yesterday said that the demand for summer rentals this year in the Hamptons is actually really low for whatever reason. Yeah, Michael Joseph says love Sag Harbor and Montauk. Sag Harbor is awesome. It's really, really nice, really, really beautiful place. Now, if you're gonna go out to Suffolk County, okay, if you're a tourist, right, you're not from New York, you're going out east on Long Island, big public service announcement, okay? Very important that you know this. If you're going to Suffolk County, especially the Hamptons, right? You have got to purchase tick spray before you go there. A lot of celebrities and a lot of people who are not from New York, they go out in the Hamptons and they run around in the sand dunes, and then they get ticks. And those ticks carry Lyme's disease. It's horrible. My cousins were from way out east, and both my cousins had Lyme's disease. It is not a good time. Very dangerous. So if you're going out east on Long Island, you got to watch out for the ticks. It is a big thing. They carry Lyme's disease because if you think about it, where are the wildlife out east on Long Island going to go? It is the furthest point east you can get in the United States on the East Coast is Montauk, right? So as you've had all of these humans, right, great humans like me and you, watching the stream, they've been moving out east on Long Island, and it's been like congesting all of the wildlife into one place. There's no place for them to go. So these deer get very, very sick, and the ticks that are on the deer bite the humans, and you get Lyme's disease. So you got to watch out for that. Yeah, John's like, swim the Nantucket. Now, wasn't there a piece of legislation that obviously got shot down by all the bigwigs on North Shore, Long Island? I think there was supposed to be a bridge or a tunnel that connects Long Island to Connecticut, but that got shot down. This is Lehman Manhattan Preparatory School, which is kind of crazy because tuition could be upwards of $50,000 and above for these elementary schools. I mean, people in Manhattan, sometimes they pay 50 grand to send their kids to 7th grade, 6th grade. I don't understand it, but wow, Jay says I can't eat meat because of ticks. That's crazy. Oh man, that's wild. Yeah, Joel PM says deer ticks are very, very small too. I remember it as a kid. We would play out in the woods, and then your parents would have to literally go through with the comb and inspect you for the ticks. And if you were bit by a tick, you had to put it in a bag and send it to the lab, and they would test it if it was positive for Lyme disease. It was crazy. I remember it was like a huge stress when I would go out there. All right, anyway, guys, this is the New York Stock Exchange. It looks beautiful tonight with the American flag. Looks awesome. Hey, Smee Media's here. Says, hello, Tom. Good to see you, Smee Media. Thank you so much. Golden City says Lyme disease can be dangerous if left untreated. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. It's horrible. Hey, Dan Sang, what's up, man? Says, do anything fun for Memorial Day? I had dinner with some people who were in town, hence why we were late yet again doing the stream, which I apologize for. But not too much. I mean, what about you? Hopefully you're doing something fun out there in Queens. But I want to take you guys across the Brooklyn Bridge tonight. But first, one more shot at the New York Stock Exchange. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these walks starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Manhattan and in Miami. Ron says, what are the black gates in front of the New York Stock Exchange? Well, this is to keep the tourists out. Now, back in the day before 9/11, tourists and the people in the public were actually allowed to access the New York Stock Exchange and take a tour and walk the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Unfortunately, due to security reasons and obvious reasons of terror threats, that is no more, okay? You're not allowed inside the New York Stock Exchange. If you do want to go inside the New York Stock Exchange, you got to know somebody or get invited, which is unfortunate, right? But because, I mean, this is probably one of the most important pieces of American history ever right here that we're standing on. And I'm very thankful. I was actually invited to go to the closing bell ceremony a few months back at the New York Stock Exchange. It was an unbelievable experience, probably one of the greatest experiences of my life so far to date. I had an amazing time. So much history in that building, it's unbelievable. And this is another historic building. It is called Federal Hall. And you see the big statue of George Washington right there. This is actually where he was inaugurated, but unfortunately all of this scaffolding here is going to be up here for 10 years. The building is so old, it is in pretty bad structural shape, so they are doing extensive repairs to Federal Hall. But when I worked down here on Wall Street, right next to the Deutsche Bank, I would have lunch right here almost every single day, and this was the best place to have lunch. Because you can't see it because of the scaffolding, unfortunately, but there's massive steps that go all the way up to Federal Hall. And, during lunch, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, before power hour, everybody would sit here, hang out, have a drink, have some lunch, and you have a great view of the New York Stock Exchange. It was really fun working down here. And then this is where we were, if you recognize that. That's Trinity Church. We just took the long way around. Hey, Anthony Williams says, good evening. I'm new to New York from Madison, Wisconsin. Well, good to see you. Hopefully you could visit us sometime soon. Anthony, thank you for joining. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you, sir. We'll continue down this way all the way till Water Street, and then we'll make a left. So as we make a left on Water Street, everybody, we are going to come up on one of my favorite parts of the city that I never take you guys to. I actually took you there 2 nights ago, but my phone died. It's the South Street Seaport. It's a beautiful area, and there's probably actually a lot of people there tonight for Memorial Day weekend. There's a lot of bars over there, a lot of restaurants. So I'm actually excited to walk over there. Hey, Julia M says, hey Tom, would it be okay for me to post my resume on this site because I'm trying everything I can to get a job? 100%. Julia M, send me an email. I forget the line of work that you're in, but if you send me an email and sort of let me know your situation, I'll see if I can help. Anything I could do to help, 100%. That's what we're here for. I'm not sure if you sent me your resume already, but look, anything I could do to help, I'm 100% down for it. So feel free to do whatever you want, 100%. I think this is a Lamborghini here. We'll go down by 60 Wall. This is William Street. If you keep walking the other way, you'll run into 130 William, which is the new development we were talking about. Paulo's Adventures. That's actually a really good question. It says, Tom, what are your thoughts on AI and the potential risks? That's a really good question. Here's what I think. I think that AI is no different than any other new technology that has happened. Now, before everybody goes crazy, sort of let me explain what I mean. Look back throughout history, okay, on any brand new technology, any brand new technology, right? And what you'll find is that at first, everybody always has built up resistance to it, and they're scared of it because they don't understand it and they don't know it. Hey, Gina Thomas, thank you so much for your very kind $5 donation. This is Tom is still a great guy. Thank you, Gina Thomas. I appreciate you. And I wish you a very, very happy Memorial Day weekend, my friend. But anyway, any new technology that's come about, it's always met with resistance every time. It's never not, right? And that's just because we're humans. Humans are meant for survival. We're technically not built to thrive, right? So it's sort of the same concept that you may have a fear of public speaking. This is 60 Wall Street, the old Deutsche Bank, by the way. Deutsche Bank is no longer here. The reason why you have that anxiety when you go up to speak in front of a big audience, it's your body trying to save you and keep you safe. Your body doesn't want you to do the things that you don't want to do so you could excel and you could be successful. Your body wants you to be comfortable, your brain wants you to be comfortable and hide in a cave so you could survive, right? It's the same thing with automobiles when they first came out, right? There's so many interesting articles way back in the day. There was fights in Manhattan, right? They actually cut the island of Manhattan in half and said automobiles in the north, horse and buggies, everything in the south. And people came up with thousands of different reasons as to why automobiles would be horrible. Look about air travel, right? Planes, cell phones, the iPhone, right? The internet. I think my favorite clip ever of all time that sort of illustrates this point is, I think it was on the David Letterman show, and Bill Gates was on the David Letterman show, and David Letterman was really roasting Bill Gates. And I know he was just trying to be funny, right? That's his job as a comedian, to poke fun and be funny and things like that. But he was like trolling Bill Gates on the internet, right? He's, I don't remember the exact bit, but you guys could just look up the bit yourself. He was explaining, well, you could listen to baseball games on it, and then it'll, play it back to you. And then he's like, well, does radio ring a bell? Does the newspaper ring a bell? And all that different stuff. So do I think there's risks to AI? Of course. But I don't think those risks are disproportionate to the risks of data security, with all of your personal information being on the internet, with telecommunications. I think once we get a hold of it and people start to understand it, I think people will be more comfortable with it. It just takes time. That's my view. I don't know, any thoughts on that? Any disagreements? I'm more interested in the disagreements to that point, because I know we do have some differing opinions, but that's usually how I think about things, because I tend to be an optimist. I don't think that we're gonna have a technology that destroys human civilization. I just really don't buy that. In my view, anyway. Hey, Teresa Diaz, what's up? TD, how are you? Michael Joseph says, the internet was difficult to get on when it first got popular and people dismissed it. That's true. That's even before I was born. It's before I was born. Paul says, I'm curious to see what laws and regulations are passed as AI tech progresses. Yeah, I definitely think it should be regulated for sure, but I do not think we should stifle the innovation. I think that is such a mistake, and I think we're on like the cusp of doing that, right? If you're not comfortable with something, people who are ignorant to the technology will say, ban it, you can't do it. It's the same thing with like autonomous driving vehicles. Right, there's a big threat there that it could displace hundreds of thousands of truck driving jobs and the like. And obviously we don't want that to happen, but it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. So what we should be doing, in my opinion, is being proactive, right, as a society, as a country, and putting a focus on retraining and retooling our citizens for a new economy, right? I mean, think about how many people back in the day were blacksmiths. You know, how many blacksmith jobs are around now? Think about how many people were, you know, operators and drivers and mechanics on horse and buggies. A lot. Now you see like 5 guys doing it in Central Park, right? So there's going to be displacement with any new technology. However, again, if you look back throughout history, jobs that will be displaced, on average, the technology that displaces those jobs then go on to create 5 additional jobs. Now, the problem this time is that the 5 additional jobs that are going to be created by the disruptor is going to require a completely different set of skill set. Completely different. And the problem is, there is a severe shortage of workers, not only in the United States, but abroad as well, who have these skills. So, I don't know, if I were president, which I would never run for president, I would be putting a huge focus, and I would be providing incentives. I would even be providing like tax breaks and tax cuts to say, hey, if you want to, you know, study computer science, machine learning, if you major in that particular field of expertise, you're exempt from all income taxes for 2 years, right? I would do creative things like that, because that's significant, right? Think about how many more people would go into the STEM fields if we said, if you can prove to the government that you went to college or a trade school or whatnot, or even you're an autodidact and you taught yourself how to do these things, if you get a job, you're exempt from paying income taxes for 2 years. I think those are kind of the creative things we should be doing. All right, guys, more importantly, this is Fulton Street. Check this out. And we're on the corner of the South Street Seaport, which is one of my favorite neighborhoods in Manhattan. Look at how cool and unique this is. I think we usually start to buffer around here, though. So this is the Seaport. Now here's the problem. I think the internet is a little bit spotty down here. But you'll see exactly what I'm talking about how great this is. Very unique neighborhood. Hey Gerardo, what's up? Good to see you. Hey Eric says, hey Tom, I have a corporate banking interview next week. I was wondering if you had any tips. I've looked into the 400 Qs guide for investment banking, but not sure how relevant they are for commercial banking. I'm an accounting student. Well, good luck, man. I think you'll do all right. Now, there's some really good resources on Wall Street Oasis. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the website, but I would check that out. There's a lot of practice tests, practice questions, and also like virtual mentoring services there. So if you haven't checked it out, check out Wall Street Oasis. It's a great website, great resource. But even above all of that, my friend, I think your networking, assuming you get the job, right? Let's think past the sale here for a moment. Assuming you get the job, I think you should focus these next 3 years on being in the office every day. You should be the first one in, the last one out. You should volunteer for everything, right? If there's a project or a deal that comes out, even if it's not in your job description, you should volunteer for it. You should work the 80 hours a week. You should grind it out. You should put in the work, and you should build a huge network, because the network that you build in banking at first are the same people that are going to be writing your letters of recommendation for your incredible exit opportunities, if you so wish, to go into private equity, venture capital. Maybe you want to work at a hedge fund. So don't be the guy who works from home, okay? I'm assuming if this is your first job, you're probably in your 20s. You don't need to be working from home, okay? You need to be in the office. You need to be building relationships with your boss and your clients and your peers. You don't need to be doing that on Zoom. You need to be in person doing that. And I think if you do that and you put a real big focus on that, you're going to be doing very well in 5 years' time. All right, we got to pick up the pace a little bit because the Brooklyn Bridge is about 2 blocks away. Actually, a little more than 2 blocks away, but you get the picture. There's a lot of people out, actually. Now, these buildings here are really old, well over 100 years old. I just love looking at the vibe, the people eating outside, hanging out, having a good time. Hey, the Mighty Bull's here. What's up, Mighty Bull? Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Bree Graham says tons of jobs in Phoenix, not much water. It's definitely a big problem. Let me catch up on some of the comments here. Hey Nina, what's up? This is Tom, excellent advice. I've been working long hours at the office for a while. Eric says appreciate the advice. I'll also check out Wall Street Oasis. Also, are you going to be in New York doing this or somewhere else like Texas? I mean, if you're not comfortable disclosing that, you don't have to, but just curious. That's the Brooklyn Bridge, my friends. That's where we're going. Now, tomorrow is Sunday, so I guess we'll be doing the Markets to Look Ahead live stream Sunday, but markets are closed Monday, obviously. There may not be a live stream Monday, we'll see. But, we did talk about cybersecurity tonight. And last week we had the leader in cybersecurity, which is Palo Alto Networks. We've been talking about that company for 2 years now on the stream. They reported better than expected earnings, and the stock is trading at all-time record highs. But it reversed throughout the trading day on Friday. And what I call that is a basketball underwater, because if the market was in gear and we had improved breadth of the market, right? So if you look at the S&P 500, if you look at the NASDAQ and the Dow, even though we're above the 50-day and the 200-day moving average, the problem is there's a severe lack of breadth in the market. There's only a couple stocks participating. If we had more participation, Palo Alto Networks would be trading at 20% higher than where it is now. So I call that a basketball underwater, because 9 out of 10 stocks will follow the overall trend of the market. And right now, we have the big tech stocks that are really carrying the weight of this market. So should breadth improve, the stocks that are trading near record highs right now, that are coming off the back of beat and raise earnings reports, those will be the new true market leaders in the next bull cycle, 100%. Because you got to think about it as, think about if you work at a mutual fund or a hedge fund, right? And you report to your portfolio manager. You report to the PM in the morning meeting, and you give him a trade idea, and you're like, hey, I'm covering this stock. It's coming off the back of 3 consecutive beat and raise earnings reports. They're reporting on Friday. This is my projections of EPS and revenue. If they beat again and raise forward guidance, your PM is going to put on a position there. So there's reasons why portfolio managers dump particular stocks during downtrends, and they keep the quality, right? And my boss always used to tell me, he's like, it's the easiest in bear markets to identify the stocks that are going to be the new leaders, because they're sticking out so obviously. You'll have 200 stocks breaking its 200-day moving average to the downside, and then you'll have 1 or 2 or a handful of stocks that are trading near all-time record highs. Now, chances are, if you do the work and you say, okay, well, why are these stocks trading near record highs? 9 times out of 10, it has all of those characteristics. The company has phenomenal earnings, right? Maybe it has a CAGR of 25% on the bottom line. Maybe it has a CAGR of 25% on the top line, and maybe margins are improving, right? Because think about the environment we're in today. The name of the game, or the name of the story on Wall Street now, is margin compression. You look at Tesla, went from 30% plus gross margins to now in the teens. Now that may improve now that inflation is coming down, but look for the glaring obvious factors, characteristics of companies that are doing well. And chances are it'll lead you right to those 3 main things: earnings growth, revenue growth, pre-tax and after-tax margins, and then for a bonus one, you could throw in return on equity. And if you look at the NVIDIAs I just reported, the NVIDIAs of the world, the Palo Alto Networks, the Metas, the Microsofts, the Alphabets, they all have that quality, right? They all have earnings. Hey, Austin City, hey, touring different places. What's up, man? Long time no see. This is the Brooklyn Bridge, by the way. We're about to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge now. Somebody says, what about valuation? It's a good point. Now, I'm not sure if you guys want to connect with us on Twitter, you could follow @WalksWallStreet on Twitter. And I tweeted about this the other day, because in these markets, a lot of investors fall for valuation traps. And they'll look at a stock and they'll do a little bit of research on the stock. They really won't do any work on it. And they'll just look at the valuation and they'll say, wow, this stock is trading at a 9 PE.
price earnings, right? This stock must be cheap. I'm going to buy it, right? Because it's trading at, single-digit priced earnings. And then on the flip side, they'll look at a company, oh my God, this is trading at 50 times earnings, forward earnings. This thing must be a sell. I must short it right now. And another good friend of mine who used to be a rock star trader at Goldman Sachs, he traded pan-European equities back in the 90s. He would say there's a reason why stocks are cheap. And there's a reason why stocks are expensive, right? There's a reason. If you look at a company like General Electric, you look at some of these past true market leaders, 9 times out of 10, there's a reason for the company to be expensive. Just think about it in your everyday life. Think about it as like a Birkin bag, right? There's a reason why a Birkin bag is so expensive. There's a reason why a BMW or a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce is so expensive. And there's a reason why, the 1995 Corolla is so cheap. Just a random example there. So there's reasons for that. I just thought that was an interesting comment there. But we finally made it. Brooklyn Bridge City Hall Station. 456 JZ trains. This was actually a pretty steep hill. I'm not sure if you guys could see that on stream. Hey, Adrian is here. What's up? All right, I'll catch up on the comments in just a minute. This is Pace University. This is actually one of the best business schools in Manhattan, right here. I always like this building, Spruce Street. I forget the exact address, but it's really, really nice. Yeah, cooking says, are you by Pace University? Here it is, right here. All right, we're about to make a right onto the on-ramp of the Brooklyn Bridge. If we can make the light. I think we'll make it. We got 9 seconds. 3 seconds. Oh, I don't think we'll make it. That's all right. We could wait. We could wait. Yeah, NEV 0407. This is debt ceiling announced this evening. Yeah, it was announced like 10 minutes before we started streaming. So this is the on-ramp to the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, if you veer to the right, this will take you to FDR Drive, which is actually the highway that loops all the way around Manhattan. I think we're good to cross. All right, let me cross the bike lane. Bike lane's more dangerous than the actual vehicle lanes. And there we have it, Brooklyn Bridge. So we are going to get on the walking path right here, but this is the on-ramp for the vehicles, the cars. I'll take you all the way over the Brooklyn Bridge. It seems like we have a pretty clear night out tonight. So we will be able to see all the way to Midtown Manhattan. We're going to be able to see pretty much unobstructed views of all of Billionaires Row, 432 Park Avenue, 220 Central Park South, 157 Central Park Tower. We'll be able to see I believe the Chrysler Building, all of Hudson Yards. Oh my God, I think it's going to be really packed with a lot of tourists since it's Memorial Day. I'll see if I could stomach doing this. I think we'll be all right, but we'll see. I think everybody's got the same idea as us. Hey, Andy's here from South Korea. Good to see you, Andy. Hey, Andreas, cool. I live in the Kingdom of Sweden. Good to see all of our Swedish viewers. Oh wow, yeah, this is like gridlock traffic. Gridlock foot traffic, that is. Yeah, CA2D. Just Tom is taking one for the team by doing this. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun time, you know? And I want you guys to notice something as we walk over the Brooklyn Bridge here, okay? Just this time last year, there used to be so much scaffolding all over here that really looked horrible. But now, hey Joe, thank you so much for your very kind and generous $50 donation. I appreciate you. And thank you for supporting the stream. And I'm wishing you a very happy Memorial Day weekend. So thank you, Joe. So these are all the street vendors here. Look at all the traffic going over the Brooklyn Bridge now. The on-ramp is pretty backed up. And then you can see the spire of the World Trade Center. As we walk over the bridge, the view is just going to keep getting better and better. But Joe, once again, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. It was very kind of you. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. Hey, KM Ramsey says hello, Tom, and everybody. What's up? Good to see you. All right. Now, once we get halfway over the bridge, you'll be able to see all the way to Brooklyn. You'll be able to see Pier 5. Now, back during my college days, that's actually where we used to play some of our soccer games. I think that is the home field of St. Francis College. We used to play their soccer team from time to time. Yeah, Michael Joseph says the boats in the harbor are probably catching a nice view. Very true. All right, so here's a view of what we just walked so far. Hey, the Austin Tennis, what's up, man? We got pager duty in the house, PD. Austin Tennis, when are you guys reporting your earnings report, my friend? Hopefully now that you're an account executive, you're gonna be able to get on some big deals, make that crazy commission. I always say, for anybody that's getting started in tech sales, your first goal is to get to account executive. Once you're there, you're in the club. You will always be fine if you could produce, and you'll make a lot of money. So, now we always talk about 157 and Central Park Tower because they are developed by the Extel Group. However, I believe this building right here, not the housing projects, but the building right behind it, is another ultra luxury development by Extel, and I believe it's 1 Manhattan West. I think. Could somebody fact check me on that? If you guys Google Extel developments and type in 1 Manhattan West, I think that's it, and I think that's what the name of it is. And as you can imagine, think about the amazing views that you have from that building. You can see all of Lower Manhattan, the World Trade Center. Not only do you see the Manhattan Bridge, you see the Brooklyn Bridge and the Williamsburg Bridge, all from your apartment. Kind of unbelievable. All right, now we're a little bit higher on the bridge. Look at all that traffic. One Manhattan Square. That's what it is. Thank you, MBA Elias. It's a nice Tesla coming by. You know, and the traffic's actually not so bad. It's not as bad as I would have thought. Now, the nice thing about this, everybody, is the city made a very wise decision to remove the bicycle traffic and the scooter traffic from the upper level of the bridge. So the upper level of the Brooklyn Bridge that you see here is exclusively for pedestrians. No bikes, no scooters, no mopeds. But if you look down here on the lower level of the bridge, this is the new bike lane. So I think the city made a really good decision by separating the bikers from the pedestrians, because this used to be a total horror show. Every single summer, you would have all of the cyclists that would bang through here 20,000 miles an hour, yelling at everybody. And it's like, listen, man, these people are tourists. They're taking photos. It's obvious. You got to slow down. So they removed those bikers to the lower level, which I think was good. It's a lot safer for tourists that are visiting Manhattan for the first time. And I think it's making it a lot more enjoyable for the visitors. Now, this shot is the very famous arches on the Brooklyn Bridge. At the top of the Brooklyn Bridge, you have the American flag, but if you look to the left, this is the beautiful Manhattan Bridge, which is also one of my favorite bridges in the city, and which we do walk across on the live stream from time to time. And that is the brand new Extel development. Very, very similar amenities to 157 and Central Park Tower and this building right here. But look at this. You have a clear shot of the one and only Empire State Building. I'm actually going to try to zoom in for you guys. It's such a clear night tonight that you could see the Empire State Building lit up in red, white, and blue. But the building right to the left of the Empire State Building, I believe, is the Bank of America Tower. Pretty clear. But now that we're far enough away, you can see One World Trade Center and all of Lower Manhattan. All right, since it's Saturday night, we've talked way too much about the financial markets. We'll do a little bit of impromptu Walks in Wall Street trivia. Does anybody know what this bridge is in the back over here? 2 points for anybody who gets it. So the bridge that we're zoomed in on right now, anybody know the name of that bridge? I don't think a lot of you guys are going to get this. I don't think we have many New Yorkers in the chat tonight. No, not the George Washington Bridge. Ah, the Verrazano, correct. Somebody got it. Deborah says, I won't say. Gina Thomas, close. It is the Verrazano Bridge. So that's looking out towards Staten Island. So the Verrazano Bridge connects Brooklyn to Staten Island. And an easy way to remember this is if you're on the Brooklyn Bridge and you're looking at the World Trade Center. If you look to your left, this is South Street Seaport. And the South Street Seaport is home to what? It is home to the Staten Island Ferry. So hence, Brooklyn connecting to Staten Island, Verrazano Bridge. That's how I remember it. All right, we'll continue to keep pushing over here. Western Mass Dave, good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us. We're tuning back in. Now, just last year, everybody, none of this was really visible. All of this that you're seeing on the live stream now was all covered in scaffolding because they were doing some much needed repairs to the Brooklyn Bridge. So the good news is, if you're a tourist and you've never been to the Brooklyn Bridge before, if you come here now, you are going to have unobstructed views to the north, south, east, and west because all of the scaffolding is now down. So that's good news. Here's another shot of the World Trade Center. And it looks like traffic is coming to a standstill here on the Brooklyn Bridge, or at least a big slowdown. Somebody says, can you feel the movement on the bridge? You can a little bit. Now, where you could really feel the movement on the bridge is this bridge right here, the Manhattan Bridge. Because the Manhattan Bridge, the subway actually goes across. And you can see it right here. If you look really close, you could actually see the subway going across the bridge. That you can 100% feel the vibrations of the bridge. I actually don't really like walking across the Manhattan Bridge. If you look closely, you can see all the way down to the water. Oh my God, that actually looks really freaky. Can you guys see that? You can see the water washing up on the shore. Ooh man, I'm not gonna look down. I actually don't like that. It's freaking me out a little bit. Jeez. And these planks of wood don't feel all that sturdy either. Hey, Lockjaw, good to see you. All right. Now, I'll quickly point out all of the buildings that are in sight from the bridge right now. What you're looking at is all of Midtown Manhattan. We're going to start from the left side of the screen, all right? Now, starting all the way right here, this little speck of a building is the Chrysler Building. This cylindrical looking building, that is one of the most famous buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row. It's called 432 Park Avenue. Behind this structure is the Empire State Building, and then you have the Bank of America Tower. I'll try to zoom in on 432 Park Avenue a little bit. This is 432 Park right here, and then the Chrysler Building right there. All right, let's continue to walk across the bridge. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams starting at 8:30 p.m. Here's a better shot of One World Trade Center right here. This is a really cool shot because you could see all the traffic coming across the bridge, and you could see the World Trade Center. And this is South Street Seaport over here. And one more shot of the famous arches. Now, as you guys already know, the Brooklyn Bridge turned 140 years old on May 24th. That is the birthday of the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, just last year, this all used to be closed off with scaffolding. So this is 100% open now for tourists, for visitors. Everything here is open, unobstructed views of the city and the bridge, all of Lower Manhattan. Now, since we're about halfway across the bridge, you're actually going to be able to see a little bit more of Midtown Manhattan. So this blue building that's sticking up right here is the new One Vanderbilt building. I'll try to zoom in on it, and then you could actually see Times Square as well. So again, all the way to the right, you see 432 Park Avenue. The big blue building that is very luminescent is One Vanderbilt. But check this out. This is actually Times Square. You're looking at the H&M building. This is the very famous H&M building right here. Hey Denise, this is Tom. I'm enjoying your walking tour tonight. Appreciate you doing this. Hello from Syracuse. That's way upstate. Love Syracuse, New York. Big college up there. The Orange. Very good lacrosse team too. I'm not sure if anybody plays lacrosse. Big lacrosse in upstate New York. Same on Long Island, right? Because Long Island, New York, Nassau, Suffolk County, It's all named after Indian tribes, right? Massapequa, Ronkonkoma. But upstate New York in the Onondaga County region is a lot of Indian and Native American reservations as well. So big lacrosse town up there. So greetings from Syracuse, good to see you. Only about a 5-hour drive to Manhattan, not bad. Once again, here is the, oh, Sparks Carnival, you played lacrosse, midfield, long stick? I tried a little bit, but I didn't really like it. I was a big soccer player, not too much of a lacrosse guy. I love the game though, I love watching it. All right, we'll continue. You know what? Since it's Saturday, let's go all the way to Brooklyn. We might as well walk all the way to Brooklyn tonight. Let me check my battery on my phone. Oh, we're good, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Syracuse won the national championship in soccer this year. Big congratulations to them. Ooh, this is the only part I didn't show you guys. Okay, so I got to show you guys one more thing because this is important. If you zoom in all the way right here, this is the brand new development called the Hudson Yards. Now, if you've been paying attention to the live streams over the past week, I should say even the last 2 months, there's a major problem not only in Manhattan but across the United States of vacancy in commercial real estate. And one of the reasons why that's happening right now is because you're seeing a big exodus to Class A space. Or I should say Class A properties. So people are moving out of these very old, dilapidated buildings here in Manhattan, and they're going to the Hudson Yards. They're going to places like One Vanderbilt. They're going to Park Avenue, where the brand new JP Morgan Chase Tower is going up at 270 Park. The brand new development that just went up a little bit further north of the JP Morgan Chase building, which is 425 Park Avenue. The commercial real estate on the office side that is going to do very well is Class A properties. It's going to be a big flight to quality, and there's going to be a big problem with Class B and C office space. I think a lot of these deals are going to trade for land value or maybe even less than land value. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there over the next, I don't know, 24 to 40 months, especially in markets such as San Francisco. And one more zoom in on the Empire State Building. Yeah, Joel PM says companies must rent top quality to entice the return to the office. Very good point and very true. Now, it wouldn't be a Walks in Wall Street Memorial Day live stream if we didn't zoom in on the Statue of Liberty. So I think we'll do that right now. So we'll transition from One World Trade Center to Lady Liberty, which is right here. So I want you guys to focus on this little teeny green speck that is the Statue of Liberty. I think very fitting for Memorial Day and Fleet Week in Manhattan. And there she is, Statue of Liberty right there. Hopefully it's coming out well on the stream. It's a pretty far zoom. I'm so glad we came up here tonight because totally unobstructed views. I think you guys know the city inside and out now. You could pretty much name any single building you want. We've pretty much named all of them tonight on the live stream. Now, if you take the Staten Island ferry, that's another really, really enjoyable ride, and it's free. So if you're a tourist on a budget in New York and you want to come to places to see amazing sights of the city, hop on the Staten Island ferry. It's free. Ah, Christine, this is Tom. I see 55 Water Street where I used to work. Wow. You know what's funny, Christina? We probably saw each other back in the day because my old office was 77 Water Street. So we moved, our company moved from 82 Wall Street, right next to the Deutsche Bank, to 77 Water. So not too far away, we were neighbors. That's so funny. It's hilarious. All right, and here we have it again. You can see all of the Hudson Yards and all of Midtown Manhattan. Man, it's just such a clear night out tonight. Gorgeous being up here. This is Tom. Do you recommend driving your car into Manhattan? I don't personally. I'm not a big car guy. I just take the train. I think it's better. All right, I'm not sure we're gonna make it all the way to Brooklyn because my phone's on 10%. We'll make it as far as possible. Once again, this is the Manhattan Bridge, and that is the brand new Extel development. Maybe one night I'll be able to get you guys in there so you could see the views from some of the amazing apartments in there. Traffic's at pretty much a standstill. Ooh, some of these wooden boards are coming up. What do you guys think? Because the market is closed on Monday. You guys think we should take a ride on the Staten Island Ferry tomorrow night? I'm trying to think. Maybe what I'll do is I'll push the Markets to Look Ahead live stream out to Monday, and tomorrow maybe we'll come down here again, but we'll take the ferry. Would you guys be interested in that? Do you guys want to do that for the long weekend? And then maybe when we get off the ferry, we could walk all the way up to the Intrepid. Assuming it's going to be a clear night. I didn't look at the weather though. If it's clear, we'll do that. Everybody's saying yeah. All right, so we'll do that if it's clear. If it's clear night, I'll meet you guys tomorrow at 8:30 at South Street Seaport. Don't be late though, guys, because once we board that boat, we're taking off. I'll leave you guys behind. All right, let me zoom in on Midtown Manhattan one more time. I know Sean D's like, Tom, bring a battery pack. Some of you have actually gifted me battery packs, and I appreciate that. Sometimes they're just too heavy to carry around, honestly. But I do appreciate it very, very much. Here's a better view of the Statue of Liberty here. I forget what park this is called. This may be Dumbo Park. I forget, but this has amazing views of the city too. Now, if you look all the way right here where this big grass field is, that's Pier 5. And that has unbelievable views of Lower Manhattan. And this is where I used to play a lot of my college soccer games. And the views were unbelievable. So imagine, playing 11v11 at dusk when the sun is setting in New York City over the World Trade Center. That's an unbelievable experience. Now, if you look to the left, you could actually see the carousel. You guys see this? This is the famous carousel that's down there. All right, let me turn back now and walk towards Manhattan just to conserve the battery, because I do have to head home. Deborah says, Tom, it's all Brooklyn Bridge Park. It's really beautiful down there. I should take you guys there. Hey, DM says, Tom, Sunday in New York, temperature will be 79. DM, it's actually been a little bit chilly. For almost being June, it's actually kind of cold. Brian's like, any plans for the extra day off? Well, tomorrow I actually have to do something in the morning, but probably just hang out, read. I did a lot of reading today. I had dinner with some people that were in town. Just try to take it easy. Hopefully you all have some good plans for Memorial Day as well. Now, I was in Central Park, and I posted a video on my Twitter page. If you guys want to check it out, you can follow @WalksWallStreet on Twitter. But Sheep Meadow today was unbelievable. There was quite literally hundreds of people hanging out in Central Park. It was a really, really cool video. There must have been, not even joking, maybe 500 people plus. Maybe more, in Sheep Meadow today. It was really unbelievable. Ah, that's right. Brad's brain says tomorrow is Monaco Grand Prix, followed by the Indy 500. Now, Brad, I remember, now I wasn't in Miami for the Formula One event, but I was looking at some of the prices for the F1 event in Miami. I mean, just talk about just stupid prices. Crazy. I think the Formula One, like the NASCAR, is probably the most, I guess it's considered a sport. Yeah, it's a sport, 100%. I think that's probably the most wealthy sport that involves the most money, I think. I think if you wanted to get a table at the F1 event, it was close to $100,000. Can't even believe that. I'm assuming Monaco is probably way more. Pull the yachts up and all that. Oh, we got a spam bot. Somebody says, didn't they say the F1 was a scaled back event? I don't really know anything about the sport, but I could tell you it was crazy down there. Everybody that I knew was there. And it was just ridiculously expensive for no reason. You know, I have a feeling that those type of events are more a networking club. I have a feeling, right? Does anybody else get the same picture? I feel like those big races like the Formula One, the F1 stuff, I think other rich people just go there to be around other wealthy people, to network and do business. I don't know, maybe some people like to watch the cars go around in a circle, but I have a feeling if, you know, you're a multi-billionaire or multi-millionaire, you probably go to make connections and do business. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would do if I was a multi-billionaire. Might as well go to the F1 event. Yeah, pass the blunt. It says meeting like-minded, well-off individuals is only one part of it. Yeah, I would assume some people like to watch the race, right? Wow. Dan Zhang says, my friend was invited to the Richard Mille Lounge at the F1 Miami. He was telling me that he was the poorest person there. So Dan Zhang, Richard Mille is a brand name of a watch, right? Yeah, I think, I'm not a watch guy, but I believe Richard Mille is a very, very expensive watch brand. I think some of those watches could quite literally be like over $100,000, which is crazy to think about. Purchasing something that you're just going to wear on your wrist for $100,000. It's insane. Maybe more than $100,000. It's actually kind of peaceful walking across the bridge. Hey, Pixelogic, what's up? Dan Zanks' minimum $250,000 watch. Whew. Yeah, that's insane, man. That's like a whole different world people are operating in. It's wild. Hey, TC, what's up? So this is an amazing walk. Just got on the stream and never knew. Yeah, so they changed it. This is a pedestrian walkway here, and they moved the bike lane to the lower side right here. So the bike lane is completely detached now from the pedestrians, which is really good. You know, TC, we were talking about some of the new developments. You got to look up this thing right here. This is another Xtel development. So Xtel did 157 Central Park Tower, and I think that's their latest new development. So you can imagine the views you have from there. You can see all of Lower Manhattan, all of Midtown Manhattan. What was the name of it again, guys? I keep getting the name mixed up. It's One Manhattan what? East? One Manhattan East, I think. It's a super tall, ultra luxury residential apartment. Now, just so you know, anytime you see an Xtel development, you know it's going to be the quality of the quality of the quality. Yeah, pretty much if you have any apartment above the 20th floor, you have really great views of all Lower Manhattan. Got a couple bikers there. Now, I forget the exact address, but this building, this sort of funky looking building right here in front of us, is on Spruce Street. I think it may be 74 Spruce Street right here. And, excuse me, one of the drummers, or I should say, if you're familiar with the Roots group, which is one of my favorite musical groups, they're actually the band for Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. Questlove lives there. He has a really, really nice apartment right in that building, overlooking Brooklyn. So I believe that is the home of Questlove. Hey, Karen Smith says good night, everybody. Starting Memorial Day weekend off with a memorable walk. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, I think we'll wrap it up. I mean, I think we had a good stream. Even though it was Saturday, we talked a lot about the financial markets. We talked about interest rates. We talked about the Federal Reserve. We also talked about the identifying characteristics of what makes true market leaders: earnings, sales, return on equity, pre-tax, after-tax margins. We talked about just because a stock is cheap doesn't mean it's a buy, and just because a stock is expensive doesn't mean it's a sell. If you enjoyed the stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. You could also look in the link in the description of the video to connect with us on, our newsletter, on Twitter. And if you want to join us tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. sharp on the dot, we are going to be pulling out of New York, headed to Staten Island on the Staten Island ferry. So don't be late, you may get left behind. So everybody, enjoy your Memorial Day. Darren, thank you so much. Joe, Deborah, Justin, Jetstar, Prodman, appreciate it. Unij 23, Dusty Cole, Connie E, Richard Vogel, Nina, Austin City Limits, Beverly Hill, Abdullah, Muhammad, Bree Grams, Travel, Manthony 18. Good to see you, Manthony. Appreciate you. Touring different places, MBA Elias, Sparks Carnival, Joe, Gary Carpenter, USA, Deborah. There's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look, and I will see you guys right back here tomorrow at 8:30. Have a great Memorial Day, and thank you so much to all of our service members in the armed forces, the men and women who serve our country, so we could do cool things like this, walk around New York City and be free and prosper. Take care.